At the Hearthstone Invitational, which was a big tournament that just recently happened, it was announced that Mercenaries were going to get some buffs. Now, this is the official tweet from Raven, who is one of the casters at the event. Mercenaries Tyrion's stats getting increased to 1374, and that's a really big deal, and we'll explain why soon. And we're getting some changes to speeds and CDs for other mercs. I don't know when the patch is going to hit at all, but I thought it'd be very fun to go through what I expect to actually see get buffed and see how wrong I was when the patch comes out. So basically this video is going to be my predictions on the characters that you should potentially start leveling if I think they're going to get buffed. I hope you end up liking this, and if you end up liking this, make sure you subscribe and like the video. And if you want to check me live on Twitch, the link is in the description down below. And as always, you look fantastic.
I'm a doctor.
Starting off with the first character that I think is actually going to get a buff is Cornelius Rome. And I don't think Cornelius needs a stat buff at all. I think 1279 at maxed is pretty good for what he wants to do. But I think the biggest thing holding him back is that his hold the front or his blessing of sacrifice is not a turn one ability. The problem with Cornelius is that you don't ever really want to bring him off the bench, but you want to start him at the beginning of the game to protect two other characters. And I think if they gave him hold the front with a 0 cooldown, or they give him blessing of sacrifice with a 0 cooldown, I think this would enable Cornelius to be a much stronger protector and could enable a lot more comps. The idea of being able to blessing a sacrifice turn 1 to protect against a Samaro and then the damage goes on Cornelius would be just game changing in its own right. And I think just getting Cornelius buffed in one of these abilities could enable a lot more interesting starting comps rather than just like Shadow or Samara with Malfurion. I would be really surprised if they don't buff Grom. And I think the two things I would hope for with Grom is A, give him a little bit more health, put him to 73, put him to 75. I don't know. This man needs more health to stay alive. I would also think just for a speed, I think Blood Fervor should go down a little bit. I would appreciate it going down to like a 6 or a 5, but I can see why they want to keep it so late. But like realistically, first turn, 8 speed with a death blow and all of the weight of this ability is on the death blow is not entirely great. So hopefully they increase it to make Grom a little bit more suitable for a starting lineup, because especially I don't think you want to start Grom off the bench either, kind of like Cornelius. So enable him with a faster speed in order for him either A, to be put into an ore comp or just be an individually better mercenary. I think Jaraxxus is going to probably get a little bit of a buff. I'm not too sure what the buff will be. I can maybe see Legion Burst get a little bit of an increase on speed. I could also just see them getting rid of the cooldown on this. I think that would be fine, or even the Fell Infernal. I'm not entirely sure how one of the demons is going to be buffed, but I would almost think that one of the demons for sure will get buffed. I'm just not sure which one. Could be manorath. I'm not sure. Again, I haven't really tried out the demons here, so I'm not really sure what they need, but I would imagine if they're going to fix anything, it might be the terror charge to make it a little bit stronger. Maybe giving your demons extra life earlier on could be the difference of them living to not living. I'm not sure. I'm open to your suggestions in the comments down below. It is a personal one for me, but a lot of you have asked me, yo, can you try the Rarran Cornelius smite combo? And I did try it, but the problem with smite is that his health is too low for a protector who wants to taunt turn 1, especially against these shadow comps or even Samaro. Samaro loves going against this. Basically, give him to 75 life, even 80 I think would be okay. And I realized that Overboard is kind of one of the reasons why they made his health not as strong. But if you're not going to increase his health, I could even think Overboard going with no cooldown might actually be okay for smite. I think smite he needs something more than just a pretty garbage attack and a just mediocre taunt on turn 1, especially because he's a protector. It doesn't really help out against a lot of the casters that we've been seeing. Tyrion is a mercenary that I think needs a really small nudge in the right direction in order to make the human comp just slightly better, and that is to Heroic Leap. I haven't really done Heroic Leap or just the human comp in general because I just don't think that waiting a full turn for a protector is going to be good enough for the Heroic Leap combo with humans. But if you take the cooldown off of this, I think humans have a much better time of actually being a real comp in the metagame. So I personally would appreciate just getting rid of the cooldown to enable your humans to be slightly better. Edwin hasn't really seen a lot of play since the pirates have come out. I think generally speaking, one of the real issues with this is just Assassin's Blade being at 5. If you put it down to 4, it enables a much better time to get the attack off again. Unlike Samaro, who does not care if you have already gone, Edwin does, and I think that's a big deal to try to not drastically, but somewhat make this ability a little bit faster so Edwin can see more play with the pirates. One of the reasons why I think this would be great for the game is that if Edwin does get better, that means pirates in general due to Black Flag will be better. And I think overall that would make a more interesting starting comp for the pirates. We already know Tyrion is getting buffed quite a bit, but I kind of want to go through what this actually means for the metagame. First and foremost, Tyrion right now is a 969 mercenary that's not maxed. At maxed, he goes to a 1074, which is not that great for a fighter because his kit basically wants you to die because you're almost guaranteed to use Ashbringer every single time you use Tyrion. But with the stat increase, Tyrion becomes much more threatening and the breakpoints become a lot easier, which means stuff on the bench gets a lot more threatening because of Ashbringer, which includes Illidan, Thrall, Edwin, Samar, whatever you want to say. So the buff to Tyrion does enable a lot more on bench characters to be played. And even if you want to buff Karen Diablo, that's fine. But I would expect to see a lot more Tyrion after this buff goes through because it's a lot of stats to be giving a character. I don't know if this one's going to happen, but Tyrande definitely needs a change. The biggest problem with Tyrande is her arcane salvo. It should just be you get to pick the 2 characters. That's fantastic. I would also make arcane shot a speed of 6 rather than 7 because it does enable her to be a little bit better. And when you compare this ability to Tavish's, it just makes you kind of sad and you don't even want to look at it anymore. Any buff to Tyrande would be nice because she is arcane and potentially would enable Millhouse Manastorm to be a little bit stronger, even though I wouldn't get too optimistic on that. But you could get optimistic on it if they decide to buff Millhouse, which I am hoping so much. Now, I made this comparison in a video I did previously that Millhouse is almost like Jaina, except for just not nearly as good. The problem with Millhouse is 2 things. One, his health is too low, and on top of that, most of his equipment is not that great. This one doesn't do anything because you're almost guaranteed never to play this because it's so freaking slow. Manorath is definitely good, but like you wouldn't want to put this on a cooldown at all. Arcane and Powder is obviously the one you want to go to, and it's not it's really underrated to have a turn 1 AoE as a caster, but when you're basically gonna die guaranteed turn 1 and you don't have ice block like Jaina, it's not great. What would I do to change Millhouse? I would make his life a little bit higher. I would be even, like I would say this is probably fine. Just make his health 80 and maybe he lives a little bit longer, especially with Cookie's help. But on top of that, just give him this ability, but like make it like +1 or +2 arcane damage and just put no cooldown on it. I think that would be a better play than just leaving him in the dust to cry. Let me know what you think about Millhouse. I'm really wanting to play because he has, look at his skins. Look at his skins. He's got the ice cream, man. Last character I expect to be changed is Guldan. Now, I think they thought Guldan's life would be enough for him not to have a faster ability. He has the highest base level caster health out of any caster, obviously, based on that sentence I just said. But his abilities are so slow. Like 10 speed for 20 damage doesn't really, make a whole lot of sense. So I could see this going down to 8. I could also see them removing the cooldown on this so you can actually start with Guldan. Maybe that's a little too spicy. I'm not sure, but I think Guldan is almost guaranteed to probably see a little bit of a nudge so orcs can be a little bit stronger. These are the buffs that I expect to be happening. I do not know when the patch will be, but it will probably be at some point this week or next week. Let me know what you think should be buffed, and I'm excited to read those comments. And again, if you like the video, make sure you subscribe.